Hello everyone, we are back with the Rams franchise. Today we're going to be doing an end of season recap and an off-season preview. This year it had its ups and downs, but ultimately we did finish with a winning record of 9-8. It was not good enough to win the NFC West, but it was good enough to make the postseason as the West wildcard team in the NFC. Unfortunately, in the playoffs, we did lose right away in the wildcard round to the rival 49ers, but I would still call this year an overall success. The offense this season, it could have been better. We ended up finishing 18th in passing yards per game and 16th in rushing yards per game, and the points per game, it was inflated by the defense, but we'll get to that later. Two things we really need to improve upon next year are converting on third downs and our red zone offense. We had the worst third down conversion percentage in the entire NFL, and we were the worst red zone offense in terms of points per trip to the red zone. We had a very interesting year at quarterback. We were supposed to be led by Matthew Stafford, but he got injured in the only preseason game that he actually played in, so we did turn things over to Josh Rosen, who had a great year and never looked back. He ended up finishing tied for third in the NFL in passing touchdowns and ninth in passing yards. The only question I have with Josh Rosen is how much money is he going to want this offseason, because I believe he has done enough to be our franchise quarterback moving forward. We also do have a question of what to do at the backup quarterback spot, because Stetson Bennett had a bad preseason and he was bad the only time he had to fill in the regular season. We are also going to have to release Matthew Stafford once we do end up getting to the offseason. The offensive line had a rough year. We ended up allowing the most sacks in the entire NFL and had to deal with multiple injuries to this group. The good news is we do at least have a building block for this unit in left guard Steve Avila, who had a fantastic year in pass protection and was even better when it comes to run blocking. He is a pancake machine that helped us create big play after big play and is somebody we need to build this offensive line around. But besides him, the rest of the offensive line, it needs a complete overhaul. We are going to be releasing left tackle Joseph Noteboom, who is owed $20 million next year and is clearly not worth that, so we are going to be releasing him and freeing up $10 million in cap space. I have not decided on releasing our right tackle Rob Havenstein or our center Brian Allen. We may do that, we may not, but whatever we do, the offensive line is our biggest priority to fix this offseason. When it comes to skill position players, we'll start at receiver. Cooper Kupp is clearly our number one, but what do we do after him? We are not going to be bringing back Van Jefferson. Puka Nacua, I know he has been great in real life, but I don't want to just boost his ratings up because of that. If I were to boost his ratings up because he's been good in real life, I would also have to go through the entire league and boost all their ratings up to be fair, and I just don't want to do that. So we are going to be adding a number 2 wide receiver if possible this offseason in order to help this offense take a step forward. At tight end, we need to add people to that room because we only have one guy under contract heading into the offseason in Davis Allen. At running back, Cam Akers, I know he had some big games down the stretch, but he also had some bad games and dealt with some injuries, which has been a reoccurring problem throughout his entire NFL career. And I think it is time that we just move on from Cam Akers and go a different direction at running back. Michael Carter, he could be back. It's just a matter of what kind of contract is he looking for this offseason. So expect a lot of changes to the offense this offseason, including hiring a new offensive coordinator because our old OC, Gerard Larson, he decided to take the OC job with the Houston Texans. Let's move on and talk about this defense. It was a mixed bag from them this year. On one hand, we allowed the most passing yards per game in the NFL and the 27th most points per game. On the other hand, we had the 9th best rush defense, had the 2nd most sacks with 45 of them, the most takeaways with 29 of them, and the best red zone defense, at least when it comes to points allowed per trip to the red zone. I would call it a mixed bag from this group because we did some really good things, but also did some really bad things. The interior defensive line has 2 guys I want to continue to start in Kobe Turner, who had a pretty good rookie season, and Bobby Brown III, who actually went up a dev trait to star dev. But besides those 2, we need to add some depth here, and we also need to find a 3rd guy that can start alongside those 2. At edge rusher, the story here is Byron Young. He had a great rookie season, he led the team in sacks, and has progressed all the way up from normal dev to superstar X Factor. But what do we do at the other edge rusher spot? Michael Hoyt, he ended up going up a dev trait at the end of the year to star dev, and I would like to have him back, but I don't exactly know how much money he's going to want, and I don't know if I want him back to be the starter or to be a rotational piece, so we still have some things to figure out at edge rusher. At middle linebacker, Ernest Jones had a good season, but after him, Malik Harrison was okay, Hummel was okay. I do think we need to add a true do-it-all linebacker that can play alongside Ernest Jones, and maybe add another young player that we can work on developing behind those two, whoever the second would be, and Ernest Jones. At cornerback, Cameron Dantzler has already been extended, and we have Tre'Vius Hodges-Tomlinson on a rookie contract, but we do need to add another cornerback that can play outside, opposite of Dantzler, and I would also like to bring back Calvin Joseph, who came on very strong when we signed him in free agency, or from free agency. At safety, we already have a pretty good starting combo going forward in Jason Taylor II, who progressed all the way from normal dev to superstar in his rookie season, and strong safety Jordan Fuller, who made the Pro Bowl and is up to superstar dev as well, and he has already been extended. So we are good at starting free safety and strong safety, but we do need to add a backup free safety, and I would also like to have Josh Metellus back at strong safety to be a backup for us. He had a strong season. It really just depends on what kind of contract he is going to want this offseason. So the defense, I think it is in a decent spot. It really just needs a couple of more pieces, and it can be a very scary unit for other teams to go up against. On special teams, we are set at kicker with Tanner Brown, who went 31 of 31 in the regular season and is up to star dev. He was a Pro Bowler. Ethan Evans, he downed the most punts inside the 20 of any punter in the entire NFL. Let's quickly check out the stat leaders from around the league. It was Joe Burrow who had the most passing touchdowns and most passing yards. He actually ended up winning MVP despite the Bengals finishing with a losing record at 8-9. On the ground, Josh Jacobs had the best year of anybody. He had nearly 500 yards more than the next closest and had nearly 20 touchdowns on the ground, getting to 19. At receiver, CeeDee Lamb had the most receiving yards, beating out Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase did end up tying for the receiving touchdown lead with Brandon Ayuk, who is of course a member of the rival 49ers. On defense, Micah Parsons, he led the NFC with 17 of them, but the overall sack leader was the veteran Von Miller, who was able to get to 20 despite coming off of a major injury late in his career. Shaq Thompson, he had 139 tackles, a pretty good number, but not enough to be the overall leader. That went to Shaquille Leonard, who got just one more and got to 140. Derek Stingley, he had the most interceptions in the AFC with 6 of them, but the overall leader actually was a tie. There was 2 of them, Levante David and Jair Alexander, who both got to 7. Let's move on and start talking about the draft, where the Rams have a first-round pick to use for the first time since 2016 when they took quarterback Jared Goff. Now, I do want to draft a quarterback this year, but not in the first round, unless somehow Chip Kendrick fell to us in the first round, because he looks like he is going to be a franchise quarterback from day one. So we are looking more in the middle to late rounds for a backup quarterback. Xavier Swain could be an option. He is 6'1", 221, 23 years old out of NIU. He's not the most mobile quarterback. He doesn't look like he's going to have the biggest arm. He's got some good accuracies across the board, especially his short accuracy, with that being an A. The biggest question mark with him is, what is his awareness? Is it a B? Is it a C? We don't know. Dakota Allen is another late round option I am intrigued by. He is 6'2", 225, 22 years old out of Oregon. He's projected to go on day 3. He is also not the most mobile. He doesn't have the biggest arm, and his accuracy, short and medium, are both good, but the deep accuracy is only a C. We do at least know his awareness is a B. I would say those are the 2 most intriguing middle to late round quarterback prospects in this year's draft. At running back, there is one really interesting player to me, that being Joey Griffey. He is sliding down draft boards, you could see by a lot. He's down 54 spots, but it is for a good reason, and that being he's got major injury concerns. But to me, you see the size at 6', 214, the speed being great to elite change of direction, B trucking, B break tackle. He looks like he could be a do-it-all running back. He just has some major injury concerns. And to me, that is somebody worth taking in like the 4th round. So if he's available then, I think we may end up taking him. But if we don't get him, I don't know if there are any running backs I really totally like in this draft class. At receiver, one guy stands out. That is James Blade, who is a 6'9" wide receiver out of Washington. He is an older prospect at 23, projected to go in the 3rd or 4th round. He's got that grade 2 elite jumping, B short route running, A spec catch, A catch in traffic. The route running's not good. The hands regularly are not good. But to me, he looks like maybe the only good receiver in this draft class, with a couple of guys wait that could be interesting, like Jeremy Hoover or Vernon Hitchens, that maybe we could take if we miss out on James Blade. At tight end, I think it's an okay tight end class, but I'm not exactly looking to take a tight end early, so I think we're probably just going to be not drafting a tight end this year. On to the offensive line. We'll start at left tackle. Melvin Francois, to me, looks like the best tackle in this draft that we have a realistic shot at drafting. He's got that grade 2 elite strength. He's mobile with good to great speed, grade 2 elite change of direction, A awareness, B pass block, A to B run block. There are really no red flags with him. Everything looks pretty good. Mario Odin is another interesting option at left tackle. 6'7", 331, 22 years old, so he is a year older. He's out of USC. He's got good to great strength, so not quite elite, but it's fine. Good to great speed, great to elite change of direction, A awareness, B pass block, B run block. He does have injury concerns though, with his rating being a C or a D. And he is projected to go a bit later than Melvin Francois, which I would say is pretty fair. But to me, I think Melvin Francois is the better of the two at left tackle. The interior offensive linemen projected to go early in this upcoming draft don't look the best. The blown exception to me is Brian Sandridge, and even he has some pretty glaring and obvious flaws. For one, he's undersized to play guard, so if we took him, I would slide him over to center. He does have A awareness, A pass block, and B run block. All that is great, but the rest of his ratings all have major concerns, and is a reason why I could see him slipping in the draft, which is something I would really like to happen because we do need to draft some sort of interior offensive lineman, and it may end up being him. Moving on to the defense, we'll start with the interior defensive line, and unfortunately, it's a pretty weak class here as well. There is only one guy I would consider taking early, and that is Kyrie Foster, who is 6'2", 338, 22 years old out of Stanford. He is projected to go in the 2nd or 3rd round. You like the grade 2 elite strength. Sure, he's not the most athletic defensive tackle, but he is a behemoth of one. He's got B block shed, A play rack, and A tackle. I like all of that. Now, the rest of his ratings are kind of concerning. He's not going to be a great pass rusher, but he could at least be a good run stopper. The edge rushers in this upcoming draft class look pretty good in the 1st round, but there is a pretty big drop-off after that, and even the ones that are projected to go in the 1st round are unfortunately all projected to go before we will even have a pick in the 1st round. Now, maybe one of them could fall to us at pick 20 in the 1st round, but probably not. We'll still take a look at him. Zach Patton, he's an interesting one that we've had our eye on for a while out of BYU. He has very good athleticism, A awareness, A finesse move. His concerns, though, are injury rating and run stopping ability. Sherrod Hazelwood is another guy we have had our eyes on for a while. He's a bigger outside linebacker out of Kansas State that doesn't have maybe the best speed, but he is more of a power rusher. He's got A power move, B finesse move, A awareness, B block shed. Everything about him looks pretty good. To me, at least, even the injury rating isn't that bad. On to the middle linebackers, where I did say earlier that I would like to take one to try and develop behind Ernest Jones and somebody that we sign in free agency. Chad Smith is an option. He is projected to go in the 2nd or 3rd round. He is undersized at 6 foot 239, so that is something to worry about, but if he's, fast enough to get around blocks, it's not exactly the worst thing. He's got great tool speed, which is something that can help him get around those blocks. The awareness, A tackle. He can't really cover too well, it looks like, in man. Maybe the zone ends up being a B. Lonnie Culliver, on the other hand, is a more traditional big linebacker at 6'4", 249. Now, despite him being a traditional linebacker, he does have very good athleticism, except for the acceleration that is pretty bad. He also doesn't look like he's going to be the best in coverage, but he does have A play rec and B awareness, which is always a great sign for a Madden draft prospect. The cornerbacks projected to go early in this upcoming draft look like some of the best draft prospects in the entire draft. Maurice Stewart could be a franchise changer, and I believe Addison Caver can be as well. He is personally my favorite prospect in this upcoming draft if I had to pick one. He is 6'2", 187, 22 years old out of Northwestern, projected to go in the 1st or 2nd round. He's got great to elite speed, great to elite acceleration, even the change of direction's fine, and he's got good jumping, a man, B zone, a block shed. What is there not to like about Addison Caver? Because if there is something not to like, I must be missing it. Chris Freeman, 6'4", 194, 22 years old out of North Dakota State. He is projected to go on day 3. He's got good to great jumping, even though he is 6'4". Now, he may not be the fastest, he may not be the best in zone, but for somebody projected to go on day 3 to have A-man coverage, and even A to B block shed, that's pretty good. A to B press, I think he's a potential draft steal. The safeties in this upcoming draft, I didn't really do too much work on them because we already have our future there in Jason Taylor II and Jordan Fuller, but to me it looks okay. I'm just not really interested in drafting one because we're already kind of set there. But that is going to be all for today's episode. In the next one, we'll go ahead and get through the entire offseason and make this team hopefully better. But I want to hear your thoughts down below on what you think we need to do this offseason. Thanks for watching this one, and I will see you in the next one.